start a new poem that's name is Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds. And this is a sonnet, and this beautiful sonnet is written by renowned poet William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, a married-minded genius, is the gift of God to humanity. William Shakespeare was born an actor, playwright, poet, and shareholder in the theatrical undertakings. He was born on 23rd April 1564 at Stratford-on-Avon. Number of poets called him a bard of Avon. He got only a moderate primary education at the Free Grammar School at Stratford, and in Ben Jonson's words, and he picked up small Latin and less Greek. And he was withdrawn from the school because of his father's business. At the age of 18, he was pressed into a hasty marriage with Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway is the name of William Shakespeare's wife. He is senior by 8 years. He arrived in London, where he started his career as a horseholder in a theatre. He had evolved into a dramatist by 1592, and this paving his way to fame and fortune. And in 1611 he left London and returned to his native town Stratford, and purchased an estate and spent their time until his death on 23rd April 1616. Shakespeare is the most successful playwright of Elizabethan age and wrote 37 plays, some poems, and a sequence of 154 sonnets. Students, William Shakespeare has written 37 plays and 154 sonnets. And during the 20 years of dramatic career, his most famous plays are. Now I am going to read the name of his famous work, and it's very few. And the first one is Love Labours Last, Romeo and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Much Ado About Nothing, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, Julius Caesar, and Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, Othello, etc. Long narrative poems are his long narrative. William Shakespeare has written long narrative poems, and the first one is Venus and Adonis. Next, The Rape of Lucre, and The Phoenix and the Turtle. His sonnet, collectively matchless in power and beauty, are among the finest lyrical poetry of Elizabethan age. And according to Byron, and is a thick cluster of starlight which encompass a comprehensive variety of emotions such as love, life, and death. Now about the poem. Students, Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds is a very beautiful sonnet. And first of all, you need to know what is sonnet. Sonnet is a poem of 14 lines. In these 14 lines, here are 3 quatrains. Quatrains, that means the 4-line stanza. If you student read the lines of this sonnet, Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds, you will find it here is only 14 lines. And when you divide in a 4-line stanza, and it will be consist here in a 3 stanza and 1 couplet. And what is couplet? Couplet is a pair of 2 lines is called couplet. And all these lines follow the pattern of rhyming scheme, that is called rhyming scheme. And the pattern is AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, and GG. Here is the first stanza of AB, AB. And the second stanza will take CD, CD, and third stanza will take EF, EF, and the GG will take a couplet, and it will be the rhyming scheme of a pair of two lines that we called couplet. And the first quatrains purposes the theme, and the second and the third enlarge and exemplify the exposition, and the couplet conclude the sonnet. In this sonnet, let me note to the marriage of true minds, Shakespeare precisely delineates the great qualities of love. And expressing his faith in the power of love, the poet declares its unparalleled quality, and this sonnet throws the light on the poet's philosophy and on the definition of true love. The poet is of the view that true love is constant, true love is permanent, and true love is immortal and unchangeable. The poet makes use of a number of similes and metaphor. And do you know what is simile and metaphor? Simile and metaphor both are the figure of speech. Simile is used in a comparison by using the comparative words like as, such, and as, so as, just like this. And metaphor is also a figure of speech. And in simile, he compares true love to a lighthouse and the pole star. It means the poet gives here a comparison of two things with a true love, and the first one is of the lighthouse and the second one is of the pole star. Again, the poet says that time like a farmer. The poet is using here simile, and he compared time as a farmer. Time like a farmer and cuts and destroy the physical beauty of our crops. But it cannot destroy true love. And in other words, true love remains same even the passage of time. Now start the stanza first. Let me note to the marriage of true minds, admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Note down the word meaning of stanza 1. Alters, that means change. Impediments, that means obstacles. Bends, that means renders. And admit, that means accept. And now start the explanation of this line. Let me note to the marriage of true minds, admit impediments. The poet refuses to acknowledge any external barriers in the union of minds of the person are true to each other. It means the mind, unity of the mind of two true lover, it should be in one sense. And in the first line, marriage is used here metaphorically signifying union, friendship and understanding. The poet is referring here the marriage of true mind. It means the lines is given here, the marriage of the true minds. The poet is referring here the marriage of only true minds, not to the marriage of bodies. Poet is talking about the true minds, marriage of true minds, not bodies. And the word is admit. Admit means accept, and impediments, that means obstacles. And the explanation of this phrase, the poet is not ready to accept any obstacles in the union of true lovers. And in short and simple language, the poet wants to say that no obstacles will never come in the way of the true lovers. And love is not love. And the next phrase, love is not love. In this phrase, the poet says that true love does not change with the passage of time. And that love change according to the passage of time. This is not the true love. And true love will remain constant and in all the situation. And which alters, that means change. And when it alteration finds, it means love does not change. And even if it finds a chance to change, then it will not be changed. Or pends with the remover to remove, in the same manner it does not bow with the remover to remove. It means that the true love can never be bent for other one, those who want to remove the true love. In short, the poet wants to say is that true love never changes and it remains the same in all the circumstances. Start stanza second. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is a star to every want ring back, and whose words unknown, although is height to be taken. Now note down the word meaning. Tempest, that means storm. Tempest, this word is given in the second line. Tempest, that means storm. Never shaken, that means fixed and unchanged. And want ring back, this phrase is given in the third line. Want ring back. Want ring back, that means moving ship. And here is a student, see in the first line, oh no, it is an ever fixed mark. And oh no is a rhetorical assertion, and the ever fixed mark is a metaphor and implying the sun that remains fixed in the universe. In the third line, it is the star. It is the star, and again here is implied metaphor for the North Star, and which remains fixed, and it may direct the course of time, moving ships in the sea. And in the ancient time, students, we use these universal facts, and just like North Star, Morning Star, and the Pole Star and Lighthouse. All these we use at the time for the time and the direction also, in which direction we are going on, and what's the time is right now, and the same and this factor to be known to know and to be used for time for the timing and direction. Now explanation. In this stanza, the poet describes the permanency of true love by giving the example of the lighthouse and the other of the pole star. And here is two phrases is given here, and the first line is given here, ever fixed mark. Okay, and the second is in the third line, it is the star to every want ring back. And the star, that means the poet is talking about here North Star and pole star, and just like the lighthouse and the pole star are remained still in all the situation and all the circumstances, and in the same way the poet compare true love to the lighthouse and the pole star. And in other words, the poet compare love to the pole star and the lighthouse, and that looks on tempest and is never shaken. We have already know that, and in our sea and ocean, where is the lighthouse located, a number of storms come there, and but in all the situation, lighthouse never shaken, and it will remain still in all that situation. And here the poet compares true love to the lighthouse. And just as lighthouse faces many storms but is not shaken by them, and similarly true love faces all kinds of difficulties but remains same. And the pole star remains constant in one direction and guides the sailors. And we use the pole star, and the first one is pole star used for the direction, and second is here is an simile, and the true love is compared to the pole star, and for just as a pole star is remain fixed in all the situation and giving the guidance to others, in the same way our true love should be. And similarly, true love guides the lovers in the dark sea of life. And the next line, whose words unknown, although is height to be taken. And it means the depth of love, the value of guiding star can never be completely known. It means we can never judge the value of the star, and we can never judge and we never measure the depth of love. In the same way, the North Star and ideal love are both and beyond human estimation, and it means too high to be measured. It means we can never measure the depth of the true love and depth of the guiding star and depth of the North Star, and we know, and it all these things. And the poet says that North Star and guiding star, lighthouse, and the true love, no one can measure it. Okay, now come to the stanza third. Now come to the stanza 3. Love's not time fools, though rosy lips and cheeks. Within his bending sickle's compass come, love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Now students, note down the word meaning of stanza 3. Time's fool, that means subject of decay in the hands of time. We are all puppets in the hand of times. And sickle, that means a tool for cutting grass. Compass, that means boundary. And then explanation of this stanza. In this stanza, the poet uses metaphor and personification. And metaphor I have already discussed, and personification is also a figure of speech when we compare unanimated things to the animate things. That means when we compare non-living things to living things, and in a sense of human being. And he proves that true love is everlasting, and he believes that true love is not a slave to time. True love is not a slave, is not a servant to time, and here personifies time as a farmer. In the next line, the poet personifies time as a farmer, and he says that time is a farmer. Those who harvesting the crops with the sickle. The poet says that everything comes in the boundary line of time. And it means, in short, with the passage of the time, everything, it will be beautiful or not, and everything spoils her beauty with the passage of time. Time spoils everything, but true love never comes in its boundary. But every things will come in the boundary of time, but true love will never come in the boundary of time. And it does not change with the passage of time. The poet says that, and time will destroy everything, but true love will never destroy with the passage of time. It will remain same in all the situation and with the passage of the time. And true love remains ever fresh till the edge of the doom. And this phrase is given in the last line of third stanza. And the edge of the doom, that means the end of the world, the true love remain forever fresh.